iceberg. Everybody knows it. Everybody knows that's been the case. Everybody has stories about some aspect of the quote-unquote cap. There was knowledge amongst a certain group of people, mostly who did business with Harvey Weinstein. There are countless women who understood that that's what happened, and there were many people who said, well, that's just Harvey being Harvey.
Tom Hanks, who's a fellow nominee. What does a boys' night out look like?
There's a few cocktails.
In a startling turn of events, beloved actor Tom Hanks found himself at the center of a media frenzy after being unexpectedly linked to alleged crimes associated with music mogul Sean "Diddy" Combs. The rumors have sent shockwaves through Hollywood and beyond, with Hanks reportedly panicking as he scrambles to distance himself from any connection to the controversial incidents. Few years back, Tom Hanks, a prominent figure in Hollywood, shared his thoughts on the ongoing sexual abuse scandal engulfing the film industry, expressing little surprise at the numerous allegations against influential men. However, recent revelations have emerged suggesting that Hanks himself is entangled in these controversies, allegedly linked to crimes associated with Sean "Diddy" Combs. According to a report by The Hollywood Reporter in 2017, the actor, then 61 years old, remarked that he wasn't taken aback by the prevalence of sexual harassment in Hollywood. He asserted his belief that perpetrators of such behavior are pervasive throughout the entertainment industry.
Very specific knowledge of what was going on, they'll have to answer questions about, how complicit.
He also added, "Look, there's a lot of reasons people do this for a living," Hanks said. "Making a movie is a life experience that can create an awful lot of joy. You can meet the person you fall in love with. You can laugh your heads off. That's the good stuff." However, amidst all the positivity, Hanks acknowledged the existence of a darker side to the film industry that cannot be overlooked. "Bad stuff can happen on a movie as well," he added. "There are some people who go into this business because they get off on having power," he said. "And the times they feel the most powerful, which is why they went into the business, are when they are hitting on somebody who's underneath them. And I don't necessarily mean completely sexually. There are predators absolutely everywhere." The Academy Award-winning actor also expressed optimism about the reforms taking place in Hollywood, believing that these changes have the potential to create a safer environment within the industry. The star of Captain Phillips elaborated on his perspective. Somebody said, "Is it too late to change things?" No, it's never too late. It's never too late to learn new behaviors. And that's a responsibility of anybody who wants to obey a code of professional ethics. Hanks's remarks coincide with the escalating allegations of sexual misconduct within Hollywood, particularly in the wake of accusations surrounding then 65-year-old Harvey Weinstein. During this tumultuous period, notable figures such as Brett Ratner, Louis C.K., and Jeremy Piven faced similar allegations of abusing their influential positions. However, it's important to note that Hanks himself, despite being an award-winning actor, has not been directly implicated in any misconduct. Nevertheless, he finds himself embroiled in controversy due to accusations by a group of internet conspiracy theorists known as QAnon. This fringe movement alleges a clandestine network of elite individuals, including Democrats, Hollywood celebrities, and billionaires, orchestrating a global child trafficking ring. They propagate the belief that Donald Trump is clandestinely battling this cabal and will soon unveil and eliminate them in an event known as the Storm. The narrative, though dramatic, underscores the depth of misinformation circulating in contemporary discourse.
Hanks is the head of the Illuminati. No! Okay, hear me out. Think about this.
QAnon emerged in 2017 when an anonymous user named Q began posting enigmatic messages on the website 4chan, claiming access to classified information regarding the Trump administration and its adversaries. These posts, known as drops, quickly gained traction within online communities and were amplified by influencers, reaching millions of followers. Since then, QAnon has transcended its origins, spreading to mainstream social media platforms, political rallies, and even the U.S. Congress, where certain Republican candidates have voiced support for the movement. QAnon has also leveled accusations of pedophilia against several celebrities, including Oprah Winfrey, Ellen DeGeneres, Chrissy Teigen, and Tom Hanks. Hanks, who contracted and recovered from COVID-19 in Australia, has been accused by QAnon adherents of fleeing to Greece to evade prosecution for alleged crimes. These accusations also claim his involvement in a disturbing practice of extracting life-extending chemicals from the blood of abused minors. However, it's crucial to emphasize that these allegations lack any substantiating evidence and rely on distorted interpretations of symbols, codes, and numerology. Additionally, they disregard Greece's stringent laws against pedophilia and Hanks's history as a vocal advocate for children's rights. Throughout his career, Hanks has supported numerous charitable causes, including UNICEF and the Elizabeth Glaser Pediatric AIDS Foundation. While the accusations made by that organization may seem too far-fetched, Hanks has openly acknowledged that he's not always as saintly as his on-screen persona might suggest. In a candid conversation with the Herald Sun, the actor revealed that he can be provoked to anger when someone takes advantage of his good nature. "I am who I am, and I think I have a good nature by and large. But if someone takes advantage of that good nature, well then, I'm not that nice a guy." Hanks left a room filled with A-listers in tears at the January 2020 Golden Globe Awards as he graciously accepted the Cecil B. DeMille Award. In a heartfelt moment, he began by paying homage to his wife, Rita Wilson, and their children, Colin, Elizabeth, Chad, and Truman.
A man is... Sorry. A man is blessed. A man is blessed with a family sitting down front like that. A wife who is fantastic in every way, who has taught me what love is.
Addressing the crowd, he said, "A man is blessed with a family sitting down front like that. A wife who is fantastic in every way, who has taught me what love is." The actor later praised his kids. 5 kids who are braver and stronger and wiser than their old man is. And a loving group of people who have put away with me being away months and months and months at a time. Of course, otherwise I wouldn't be standing here if they didn't have to put up with that. So I can't tell you how much your love means to me. That's the wife and kids. However, amidst the ongoing scrutiny surrounding figures like Diddy, T.D. Jakes, and others, voices in the industry are now questioning whether the era of the Hollywood star is waning. In a media landscape increasingly dominated by franchises of varying scales, lead actors find their relevance tethered to the popularity of their characters. While the contemporary status of stardom in Hollywood sparks endless debate, there remains a cohort of veteran actors who rose to prominence during the heyday of the Hollywood superstar. Tom Hanks stands as a prime example, catapulting to fame in the 1980s with a string of successful comedic roles. Gradually, he transitioned into more nuanced, dramatic performances, clinching 2 consecutive Academy Awards for Best Actor. This trajectory firmly established Hanks as a formidable character actor capable of embodying leading roles with depth and sincerity. Following the start of the 2000s, Hanks embarked on a new phase in his career, embracing mature statesman roles in critically acclaimed films. From 2002's Catch Me If You Can to 2016's Sully, he showcased his versatility and depth as an actor. Thanks to his stellar filmography and relatable everyman persona, Hanks has left an indelible mark on 21st century pop culture and the prevailing zeitgeist. Defining the shift that transforms a successful leading man into a bona fide Hollywood superstar can be elusive. For Hanks, the transition from dependable leading man to revered actor began when he pivoted away from blockbuster comedies. Instead, he focused on thought-provoking dramas that grapple with societal issues and the complexities of the human condition. In a 2001 interview for O, the Oprah magazine, Hanks mentioned that he chooses projects based on the 3 E's, aiming to create movies that entertain, educate, and enlighten his audience. "I try to do what I call the 3 E's: educate, entertain, and enlighten." He acknowledged, however, that it isn't always possible to achieve all 3 goals in a single film. This sentiment was echoed in a discussion with Film Companion about his 2016 film Inferno. Hanks observed that popular entertainment often hits the sweet spot where these 3 elements come together through nothing more than a well-made movie. This blend of qualities is the type of cinema Hanks is committed to supporting, even in an industry increasingly dominated by franchises.
I think that because it deals with this concept that we can all relate to, which is overpopulation.
Despite being known as a nice guy, Tom Hanks does have his bad days in Hollywood. Hanks is widely regarded as one of the friendliest and most approachable actors in the industry, which makes it all the more surprising to learn that he has been involved in a decades-old feud with another beloved Hollywood figure, Henry Winkler. Winkler, famous for his role as the Fonz on Happy Days, was transitioning into directing when Hanks was still an up-and-coming star. Hanks was set to star in the 1989 film Turner and Hooch, which Winkler was supposed to direct. In an interview with Andy Cohen, Winkler explained that he had already been working on the project for 13 days when he was unexpectedly called into the office of studio executive Jeffrey Katzenberg and dismissed from the film. Winkler hinted that disagreements with the film's leading actor, Hanks, were the primary reason behind his firing. As the Happy Days star recalls in an interview with People, "I was directing that movie for 13 days and then I was called into Jeffrey Katzenberg's office. Do you have everything with you? Go home." Despite being fired, Winkler said he got along great with that dog. Love that dog. Referring to Hanks's K9 co-star in Turner and Hooch, the disagreement was about as heated as one could expect between two men renowned for their exceptionally genial dispositions. In fact, the so-called feud might already be over, as Winkler told TMZ in 2020. "I don't have a feud with Tom Hanks. What everybody says and what is true are two different things." Just like Diddy, Hanks enjoys hosting regular colonoscopy parties. There's a popular urban legend that the lavish parties thrown by Hollywood's biggest stars are so filled with debauchery that attendees are always seeking a new kind of high. In Tom Hanks' case, a personal hobby he shares with some of his closest friends is holding regular colonoscopy parties. While the term might sound like the title of an X-rated movie Hanks did as a young, penniless actor, these colonoscopy parties are a relatively recent tradition. Since moving into middle age, Hanks has been teaming up with friends like Martin Short and Steve Martin to have a private party before getting their colonoscopy exams done together.
You guys and Tom Hanks and one other friend,
Yes.
you get together every other year for a colonoscopy party.
The legendary comedy duo Martin Short and Steve Martin told Jimmy Kimmel that their colonoscopy parties include stocking up on liquids and avoiding solid food in preparation for the impending exams. Thanks to all the bowel clearing involved, Short joked that by the time the party ends, Short said, "I mean, by 10 p.m., the bathroom looks like day 14 of a Carnival cruise." The members of the colonoscopy crew also share a ride to the hospital for their exams and play cards to determine who has to go first. Despite these lighthearted antics, Tom Hanks has long been compared to the iconic actor Jimmy Stewart, a comparison he's grown weary of over the past 30 years. "It's Jimmy Stewart this, Jimmy Stewart that," Hanks told Parade in 1987. "It's as big a compliment as you can get, but it's not anywhere near accurate." Yet, the comparisons persist. Reflecting on Hanks's role in Saving Private Ryan, Steven Spielberg told Cox News Service in 1998, "If I had made this in 1951, I would have wanted Jimmy Stewart to play the part." Steven Spielberg told Cox News Service in 1998 while discussing Saving Private Ryan. 1 year later, in a widely reprinted piece for Knight Ridder, Elvis Mitchell asked, "Is Tom Hanks this generation's Jimmy Stewart?" Conclusion: yes. Years later, while bestowing a 2014 Kennedy Center honor on Hanks, President Obama also summoned Stewart, saying, "People have said that Tom is Hollywood's everyman, that he's this generation's Jimmy Stewart or Gary Cooper." Being mentioned alongside Jimmy Stewart is, of course, a lofty comparison. It's also easy to see why Hanks might feel a bit constrained by it. Stewart's name has become synonymous with niceness and decency, embodying the all-American everyman. The comparison typically refers to the Stewart of Mr. Smith Goes to Washington and The Shop Around the Corner. It rarely acknowledges Stewart's later work, where he portrayed haunted men shaped by his service in the Air Force during World War II. In Vertigo, Anthony Mann westerns, and other films, Stewart excelled at playing characters who had seen too much darkness and were uncertain if they could ever return to the light. These are not the types of roles that Hanks is known for. Like Jimmy Stewart, Tom Hanks's roles as darker characters have often been overshadowed by his reputation as the kindest man in the room. This perception has only grown with the release of his latest film. In Marielle Heller's remarkable A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood, Hanks plays Fred Rogers, the beloved children's TV show host who embodied kindness for multiple generations. Hanks isn't just playing a nice guy, he's playing the nicest guy. Despite frequently returning to roles that exude decency, Hanks has ventured outside his comfort zone more than a few times, sometimes subtly, other times radically. These departures from his nice guy persona have yielded mixed results, demonstrating his willingness to explore complex and varied characters. By the latter half of the 1980s, Tom Hanks had begun to question whether he could expand beyond the roles of affable but charming leads in mainstream comedies. While films like Splash catapulted him to stardom and projects such as The Man with One Red Shoe and Bachelor Party showcased his ability to elevate weaker material, Hanks harbored loftier aspirations. In 1986, he made his dramatic debut, excluding the 1980 slasher film He Knows You're Alone, in the little scene film Every Time We Say Goodbye. That same year, he also took on a comedy that stretched the boundaries of his familiar persona with Nothing in Common, portraying a womanizing yet charming ad representative forced to confront maturity due to his father's illness, portrayed by Jackie Gleason. 2 years later, Hanks starred in 2 films that served as a reflection of audience expectations regarding his career trajectory, Big and Punchline. In Penny Marshall's Big, Hanks delivers a standout performance as a child trapped in a grown-up's body, showcasing a range that extended beyond the characters he had previously portrayed. The film confirmed his ability to inhabit roles that were markedly different from those he had tackled before. In Punchline, Hanks portrays Stephen Gold, a character mired in a different form of arrested development. As a washed-out med student whose fruitless pursuit of stand-up comedy stardom leads him down a self-destructive path, Hanks demonstrates his versatility once again. Sally Field co-stars as Lila Kritzik, another aspiring comic, and their initial interaction sets the tone for Stephen's abrasive demeanor. When Lila asks if he'll watch her set, his dismissive response, "I've got to clean my fish tank," underscores his initial reluctance to connect. However, as the story unfolds, Stephen eventually softens, assisting Lila with her act and developing feelings for her. Yet when his affection goes unreciprocated, he spirals into a frenzy, culminating in a dramatic and somewhat erratic public display reminiscent of Gene Kelly's iconic Singin' in the Rain dance, performed as an act of anguished self-abasement on the bustling streets of New York. In Punchline, Hanks fully commits to the scene and his character, portraying a hollowed-out wreck who could easily fit into a Martin Scorsese film. However, it's the film itself that ultimately disappoints. Doubling as a showcase for the worst trends in 1980s stand-up comedy, featuring prop gimmickry and ethnic jokes, the movie struggles to define who Stephen truly is. This ambiguity poses a central problem when assessing Hanks's ability to portray truly dark characters. Is it impossible to accept him as a villain, or have the films that cast him in such roles failed to deliver? Despite receiving some praise for his work in Punchline, the box office results clearly favored Hanks as the nice guy. Big outgrossed Punchline by approximately $95 million. Hanks's portrayal of a darker character took a different turn in Brian De Palma's 1990 adaptation of Tom Wolfe's The Bonfire of the Vanities, falling squarely into the latter category. The film's missteps are evident from start to finish, but one of the most notable is the casting of Hanks as Sherman McCoy, the Wall Street master of the universe, whose involvement in a hit-and-run accident becomes a focal point for New York's class, political, and racial tensions. The film attempts to soften Sherman, originally depicted as an unreflective jerk in the source material, into a likable protagonist, a decision that ultimately constrains Hanks within his familiar 80s comedy persona. Even in moments of supposed darkness, such as discussing suicide or brandishing a shotgun at party guests, Hanks's performance feels more reminiscent of his comedic roles, lacking the depth and complexity the character demands. Critics lambasted the film, but Hanks largely emerged unscathed. In a typical review, the Chicago Tribune's Gene Siskel suggested the film was cast wrong. hinting at the enduring allure of Hanks's affable persona even in less successful projects. After experiencing mixed results with darker characters in the 1990s, Hanks largely avoided portraying villains for the remainder of the decade, solidifying his status as one of Hollywood's biggest stars. While his character Jimmy Dugan in A League of Their Own initially makes a player cry, he ultimately redeems himself, reflecting Hanks's tendency to portray flawed but ultimately decent characters. As the 2000s unfolded, Hanks carved a niche playing ordinary men thrust into extraordinary circumstances in films like Philadelphia, Apollo 13, Saving Private Ryan, and Castaway. Even in Road to Perdition, where he portrays a Depression-era mob enforcer, his character's actions are driven by his upbringing and personal tragedies rather than inherent villainy. In The Ladykillers, he injects humor into his role as a Southern con artist, although the film's reception was lukewarm. In the ambitious Cloud Atlas, Hanks's performance as various characters includes some grotesque villains, yet his focal role embodies a post-apocalyptic everyman grappling with ethical dilemmas. However, one of Hanks's standout villainous portrayals occurs in the poorly received adaptation of The Circle, where he shines as the genial yet morally ambiguous CEO of a tech corporation. Hanks admitted he learned early on that he could use his ability to seduce a room, seduce a group of people. Reflecting on his career, it's clear that if Hanks were to tackle a memorable villainous role, it would likely be characterized by a winning smile and claims of good intentions, demonstrating his ability to captivate audiences even in morally complex roles.
I have questions about my honorary Greek status. Number one, do I have to serve in the Army? As long as I don't have to serve in the Army, I'm no good anyway.
While the idea of Tom Hanks being linked to criminal activities is undoubtedly shocking, it's crucial to approach such claims with skepticism. That's it for today. See you in the next video. Until then, goodbye.